Hi, folks. Because I'm an accountant and I do tax preparation for a living and I have over 100,000 subscribers in this channel, I felt that maybe I need to do a video or an opinion piece about this whole New York Times Trump tax return kerfuffle. Let me start by being totally transparent about a couple of things. Number one, I have not seen Donald Trump's tax return. The New York Times didn't release a copy of the tax return. What the New York Times did is report on the information they saw from his tax return. And again, there's no way to prove as of the date of this video that they're actually looking at Donald Trump's real tax return. They didn't say how they got the return, and I'm not 100% sure if we will, the public, in fact, get to see the actual return. So we might just have this piece and that's it, and kind of see what happens. So I'm gonna make the disclosure here that I'm just giving an opinion about the information that's being reported in the New York Times article, not about Donald Trump's actual tax return. And also, I must disclose that none of the stuff I'm saying here, it's tax advice or lack of tax advice or tax opinion. For that, you gotta talk to your own CPA or accountant. But I will discuss some of the issues that they talk about in the article. I also, for additional information, read the New York Times article, read a couple of Forbes articles. They're both great. I'm going to put the links in the description. I think you should read them all. A Bloomberg article, a Breitbart article, which is pretty interesting because this one actually kind of uses Joe Biden's tax return as a defense to Trump's tax return. And we can discuss that in a second. And the Wall Street Journal article that talks about how Joe Biden used an S corporation to avoid paying Social Security tax or Medicare tax. Basically, it's standard S corp procedure, right? You set up an S corporation and you pay yourself a salary, and all the profits from the S corp are exempt from Social Security and Medicare tax. There's some details around that. Maybe we'll discuss them. Let's see how the video goes. I also read the Fox News article, which is actually really good. It says Trump tax story is no bombshell. Again, I'm going to put a link to all these below. Now, one thing I want to point out, we actually have access to Joe Biden's tax return. We have copy of the which year is this? 2018 tax return in which Joe Biden paid $1.5 million in tax. We have a copy of the 2017, I believe is this one. Yeah, 2017 tax return in which he paid about $3.7 million in tax, and a copy of the 2016 tax return where he still had a job in the White House, basically, where he paid about $93,000 in tax. In the 2016 and the 2017, that used to be the old tax law, and of course 2018 will be the new tax law passed by Trump and Republicans. The only thing I want to mention about Joe Biden's tax return, because I don't want to make it about Joe Biden's tax return, is he did in fact make about 13 or $15 million after he left the White House. So he got speaking engagements, wrote some books, I guess some royalties, mostly channeled through a couple of corporations. One seems to be Joe Biden's corporation. The other one seems Joe Biden's corporations. And these are S corporations, and these are totally legal, right? And you can see the tax returns. I'll put the link below. And I think it'll be good to analyze them. I usually don't get to see a lot of sort of high net worth people's tax returns. As an accountant myself, I prepare tax returns for tons of people, but I don't think I ever done a tax return for a millionaire per se. Even less a billionaire. Anyway, so let's start with Donald Trump's tax return, according to the New York Times, which again, I totally disclose that it's possible that this story is total BS. It's possible that they don't really have a copy of the tax return. It's possible that they have a fake copy of a tax return or a bunch of tax returns that don't exist. I will completely disclose that. I don't know for a fact. So there's a couple of really important points. Number one, during 2009, Donald Trump filed for a refund of $72 million. Now, in 2009, as everybody knows, 2008, 2009, the market crashed. Donald Trump is in the real estate business. So most people that were in real estate had a big crash during '08 and '09. So I'm making the assumption that because he had tons of losses during those years, he was able to do a carryback, take back the losses, and get money back from the taxes that he paid. And according to the article, he paid about $90 million in tax in the previous 4 years. So we're talking about the boom era of real estate right before the crash, '04, '05, '06, '07, right? So that's when the stock market was booming. He made tons of money during that time, and quite possibly more money from The Apprentice, right? When the Apprentice, the show on TV, was making money. So while he's making money in real estate, possibly real estate, and also with his TV show, he paid tons of taxes. 2008 to 2009, he had a horrible year, as many people in the US, and he claimed a refund of $72 million. Again, according to the article, I don't know this for a fact, and he actually got the refund. He actually got the money. Immediately, he gets audited, right? Or an audit starts. And till the day, according to this article, till today, 10 years later, that audit is still ongoing. The audit has not been resolved. Now, I've represented a couple of clients in audits. I don't even know how to extend audits past, a year or two. I really don't know how this works. I'm sure there's a lot of lawyers, accountants, and people that are really highly skilled at negotiating with the IRS involved. So there's still an underlying audit on that refund. So because of that audit, the president, then the candidate, did not want to release the tax returns. And I understand from a political standpoint, from a strategic standpoint, you have a tax return under audit, having it released to the public. You will have millions of people psychoanalyzing the tax return, and that might hurt him in his audit. Me personally, I would not release a tax return if it's being audited during the time that it's being audited. However, there's a couple of important points that the article makes, and consequently the Forbes articles make, and the Bloomberg article make, which will make you think. So if Donald Trump truly is a successful billionaire that makes tons of money, he should be paying tax. Now, this article purposefully probably cherry picks the parts of the 18 years worth of taxes or whatever they have that looks most damaging, because New York Times, it's obviously and openly against Trump. Okay. Now, I'm not criticizing them or condemning them for that. Every media outlet has their own bias, right? So the Breitbart, which is more pro-Trump than New York Times, to say the least, they're trying to defend Trump by kind of talking about Joe Biden using a loophole, which is technically not a loophole, which is having an S corporation to not pay payroll taxes, or the Fox News article, which talks about basically just sort of justifies that if you are doing things legally, and if you have enough accountants and lawyers that know what they're doing, you should not be paying tax. It's your patriotic duty to pay the least amount of tax legally possible. And I actually agree with that sentiment. As an accounting professional, as someone that advises clients, does tax planning, and prepares tax returns for people, I want to explore and exploit every legal avenue to pay the least amount of taxes as possible. But one important point to make is that typically, if you make money, or you made money, or you accumulated wealth, right? And you want to recognize the fact that you did accumulate that wealth, or have access to the cash, or have that money in your bank, or have transactions that basically state that you had profits on those transactions, you can claim that you are a millionaire or a billionaire, but you should pay your taxes accordingly. I have no doubts that probably Donald Trump didn't do anything illegal. I don't have any reason to believe that he committed tax fraud. I don't have any reason to believe that he did things wrong or unethical. I guarantee you, because of the amount of money that he has or has had, and the skilled lawyers and accountants that he's had, he's probably done things legally. Now, the problem is that as a small business accountant doing tax returns, it's a little bit frustrating because I already had a couple of conversations with clients that they were asking me, "Hey Hector, you told me that haircuts were not tax deductible, right? Or clothing is not tax deductible." But according to the New York Times article, he takes haircuts as tax deductible, and probably makeup and clothing. But the point is that he's an artist, he's a performing artist, and you, my client, are not a performing artist, and therefore it doesn't apply to you. So these are little examples that when people read these articles, they start trying to figure out how it applies to them. And then they go to their accountant, they go to their CPA and say, "Hey, are you giving me the right advice?" And they kind of start doubting whether or not I'm being a good accountant or not, or if I'm exploiting every possible tax loophole per se, legal loopholes per se. So I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know how to help a millionaire or a billionaire avoid that much tax for that long. According to what the New York Times says, I haven't seen the tax returns. I really don't know how to do it. So I'm not really out there to try to get this type or this size of client, not even something a fraction of the size of what Donald Trump would be. So I wouldn't try to fool myself into thinking that I know how to do that. I honestly don't know what type of loopholes per se they use and exploit it. Now, I can tell you a couple of things. Number one, when you're in real estate and you buy and sell property, there's something called Section 1031 exchange, which allows you to sell a property, make money on the property, but not pocket the money, use the money to reinvest it into a new property, and therefore defer the tax. Okay, that might be possible. Maybe Donald Trump has deferred tax for a very long time, and at some point there will be a lot of taxes to be paid. Maybe when he passes away and all that wealth gets transferred to his children or to a trust or whatever, maybe there'll be some sort of state tax or some tax recognized at some point. I really don't know. I guess the article doesn't explain if there's a deferred tax component. When you're in real estate, people also use something called a cost segregation study, where they'll buy a new property and they'll do a really deep study to depreciate the assets inside that property and to take accelerated depreciation. It is possible that in the past couple of years, Donald Trump has done these things, has kind of deferred taxes with Section 1031, and has taken really deep depreciation with these cost segregation studies. It's also possible, again, not clear in the article, that he's taken some really heavy losses in previous years, such as, the reported multiple bankruptcies that he's had or his businesses have had, and those losses have passed through his personal return and they've been accumulating as net operating losses, and he's been able to apply them in the year that he does have positive income. Bottom line, because it didn't release the tax returns during the presidential election and made a big deal about hiding them, this type of information really does become a bombshell, not because people weren't expecting it. I think deep inside, you and I know that not because of Donald Trump, millionaires in general, billionaires in general, Warren Buffett has said it many times, they know how to use and exploit the laws to legally avoid paying tax. And remember, avoiding paying tax is not illegal. It's illegal to evade tax. And evade tax is when you didn't pay the tax you were supposed to. Again, at this point, calling Donald Trump a tax cheat or calling him a tax evader is completely unfair, because that information would be unfounded as of the date of this video. So those are the things that I think are worth talking about. There's other more high-level, complex things, like where's the income coming from? According to the article, there's some income coming from foreign countries, from Turkey and the Emirates, and I forget what the other countries are. So the fact that you have foreign income, there's nothing illegal about that. However, if you have income and you continue to have income while you have any sort of high office, right? You got to remember, does the decisions of that politician affect their money, right? Or, will the decisions be tainted by the knowledge about where the money is coming from? The other part, which I think is probably the most important piece, especially for anti-Trump type people, is that according to the article, he has a lot of debt, 400 million plus in debt that he's personal guaranteed. Of course, Donald Trump's a famous person. It will be easier to get a loan if he personal guarantees, because he's putting his reputation on the line. And according to the article and according to the Bloomberg analysis afterwards, having so much debt could pose a national threat potentially, because if the president or any politician, right, Secretary of State, any politician, doesn't matter, any politician, if they owe a lot of money and they potentially owe a lot of money to a oligarch or a foreign country that maybe is not so U.S. friendly, that could have security implications. So again, I'm not accusing anybody of anything at all. I'm telling you, as an accountant, I know you probably wanted to know my opinion. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you completely despise the fact that I'm talking about this in my channel. And I'm telling you, I don't want to make this about politics. I don't care what you think that I should think about politics. I don't care that you are pro-Trump and everything else, that's against Trump is the worst thing in the world. I don't care about that. Don't waste your time in the comment section, telling me or proving to me that I'm wrong or whatever. This is just an opinion. I disclaimed in the entire video. I disclaimed that this is not political. I disclaimed that I read the 5 articles, and I'm telling you what I think as an American citizen, as an accountant that prepares tax returns, and I'm putting the links to all the articles, including the Breitbart article, including the Fox News article, including the Wall Street Journal article, the articles that are the sources that are not known to be uber partisan, against Trump anyway. Like I recognize that New York Times has been, and it's pretty overt about it. And sometimes Forbes it's kind of both ways. Sometimes something in Forbes would be kind of pro-Trump. Some of it is against Trump. Again, I will post all the articles in the description below. I would love for you to read all of them. And then if you want to add some constructive comment or where you're coming from, what you think about this whole thing, go ahead and do it. I don't want to discuss politics. I don't want this to be about who's right and who's wrong. Hey, our most important politician has financial implications, positive or negative, has paid taxes, have not paid taxes. I think that's fair game. I think that should be discussed, and I don't think we should be precluded from talking about that. And if you are my client, what I'll tell you is I always will try to help you avoid paying taxes as long as it is legal, as long as I am comfortable with it. I don't know how these people do it. I'm completely surprised by it. I hope that at some point in the future, I understand how these tax systems and planning gets put in place. I take tons of pride of helping my clients save money on taxes, but this level, I don't know how it works. So hopefully the video was somewhat part entertaining and informational. Again, read all the articles on your own, draw your own conclusion. This is not about politics. This is about one of the most powerful people in the world, his finances and his taxes. That's all it is, right? So thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.